Welcome to this episode of Eureka. We are going to have a very wonderful conversation with Dr. Kamalesh Sarkar. He is the Director of National Institute of Occupational Health. This program is part of our COVID series. In this series, we are taking you to various scientific institutions in India and are discussing about how these scientific institutions are addressing various challenges that our country is facing due to this COVID problem. Migrant workers, a very important problem. How are we going to face when we are going to unlock and return back to certain kind of normalcy? How do we address the pandemic issues? These are all some important questions we are going to discuss with him. Keep watching Eureka. Sir, thank you for being with us in the show. So let me start with this question. Your institute took a very important initiative of devising some protocol for migrant workers who are going back to their towns and perhaps later returning back to their place of work. I mean, they should not be the carriers of taking the virus to hinterland and then maybe once again bring it back to the cities and towns where they are coming back to work. So can you explain why this initiative you took and how does it, where are you now?
See, it's a good question. As you know, the India has more than 500 million, that means more than 50 crores working population. They are associated with various kinds of occupation. Of them, more than 90%, that means more than 45 crores, they are organized in unorganized sector workers, and they are the main driving force of the country. Today's country's economy is largely dependent on them, but unfortunately, they are largely socially exploited, economically exploited, and except only small daily wage, they have nothing they receive. So in this kind of COVID, particularly lockdown and post-lockdown phase, a lot of industries, lot of factories and working stations are closed down because of this. And we have received a lot of requests from various organizations and various population that how to protect these workers, particularly the migrant workers.
Okay.
So based on that, we have developed the standard operating procedure for control of COVID prevention and control of COVID infection while working and safe return to the workplace. That we have already developed.
So can you tell us some important facets of this protocol? That what do a migrant worker do when the migrant worker is returning back to his village or her village? And then what are some of the important aspects they should keep in mind when they return back?
See, this infection, as you know, infection, if you want to control infection, there are certain factors you need to remember. One is the population density, population mobility, and then the transmission. How does it transmit? It is a person-to-person transmission and the airborne transmission.
Yeah.
So you will find migrant workers, particularly in many places, you will find that when they stay in the night shelter, the large number of population stay in a small room, is a lot of overcrowding occurs. So if someone of them get infected, immediately it will spread to them. So considering those things, we have made the guideline where, you know, the standard precautions they must practice, that physical distancing, then the hand hygiene, hand washing frequent, and then the face mask. These are the minimum things. But apart from that, there are other things like they should be made aware. So there should be one what is called trainer or teacher kind of thing in their working station. And there should be close monitoring whether somebody is having any symptoms or not. So in the morning before entry into the places, their temperature should be taken, all and other symptoms. Somebody should, if they have any symptoms, they should not be allowed to enter into the things. And if there is, while working, if somebody develops symptoms, he or she, along with his close contacts working in the same room, they all should be screened, examined as per the standard protocol government has already developed. And it should be linked with some nearby hospital or health center where they can be attended for further treatment.
Very, very, very interesting. And I think in a country like India, where migrant workers are one of the mainstay of our economy, I mean, particularly industries and small industries and auxiliary industries. I think we need to pay a little bit more attention on this section to ensure that they are not affected because they are poor, and also they don't become carriers for this disease to different places. So in specific, I would like to ask you that Gujarat, where your institute is located, is famous for the diamond industry, where a large number of people are working. I mean, so now that the COVID has become an occupational health because it can spread in a crowded place. Many countries are reporting that COVID spread is happening in workplaces. So, how is your institution tackling this question?
Recently, government of Gujarat, health secretary, she asked me to develop some kind of standard operating procedure for diamond workers of Gujarat, particularly Surat city. It is a famous, it is also known as Diamond City.
Yeah.
See, according to that, we have developed, and in the next Monday, we are going to hand over our standard operating procedure to them. See, the one basic issue is the same thing in a one small room. Their standard picture, you will see the in one small room, some 7-8 people, or sometimes it is more than 7-8-10-12 people. They are working together in a poor lighted, poor ventilated room. The first thing, room has to be well lighted little bit and well ventilated. And the air, if somebody gets infected there within the room, since it is a closed space, the air will get contaminated immediately. So there should be continuous ventilation and continuously exhaust of the contaminated air.
Okay.
So those facilities to be made, and in between at regular interval, the disinfectant spraying, the decontaminating of the possible infected air, and using exhaust fan, taking out of those air out of the room. These are the things to be made. Plus other standard procedures, the routine checkup, and then the oil entry. There should be thermal scanner, using thermal scanner. There should be screen for temperature or other throat problem and other things. So these are the standard procedures that we have made. Another thing we have mentioned in that standard operating procedure, time to time their Sero-survey or their infection status to be monitored, since it is a closed community and very crowded community. Okay. So, and Surat there is also a high prevalent area. So it is our understanding, based on our previous experience, unless the COVID control in Surat city happens, the infection will keep on continuing in them. So simultaneously, the local population infection control has to be there. Otherwise, it will not be controlled. So that things we have suggested them in best possible way.
Okay. So I'm also told that in an interesting aside that the legal profession, particularly the courts, wanted your help to find out how, when they open up, they can be a safe place for litigants and the legal officials to function. After all, courts are a very important aspect of democracy and governance, and we need that institution to function. So can you elaborate what is that background? How did this happen? What are your suggestions? How are you going to go about it?
Yeah. Recently, we were asked to visit Gujarat High Court as well as City Civil Court. Since it is an occupational health institute, we were asked, along with the experts from the Indian Institute of Public Health, Gandhinagar. So we visited the judges of High Court. They took us to the entire campus, in all the rooms, particularly where trials happened, where the registration happens, which place is more congested, which is less congested.
Okay.
So we visited both the courts, and we noted down everything, and then we suggested in the same way how infection spreads, how infection does not spread. That means do's and don'ts, and time to time monitoring and at regular interval monitoring of infection status, etc. That we have suggested them, and now they are going to implement it in court.
Very, very, very interesting. I mean, this brings it to a very general point that not just in Gujarat, but all over the country, once we start unlocking and the work gets to normal or some kind of normality, people are going to come back to their workplaces. So we do need a very robust COVID management at workplaces, different kinds, right? Like say, for example, huge number of people work in IT industry, they will have to come back. Similarly, industrial production units, people will be working. Assembly units, people will be working. So, as an institute who is involved in occupational research, I mean, this is not the traditional kind of occupational health that you might be dealing, but given the pandemic situation, this has also become a occupational disease. How do you foresee to provide scientific inputs for these kinds of challenges?
See, since it is an infectious disease, where population density high and population mobility is high and where awareness is low, the disease is bound to spread.
Yeah.
So we need to control these things along with the standard precautionary measures we have to take, and the best possible thing we need to know and we need to practice accordingly. Two, three things we should keep in mind. One is as I told, the local prevalence. When local prevalence will subside, the working population prevalence will definitely subside.
Okay.
So right now, if you see, the most of the infections are urban centric. Till now, infection has not spread to a great extent in the rural area.
Yeah.
But we are expecting when urban what is called prevalence will come down, it will slowly it will go to the rural side. So it appears once the epidemic will subside, it will remain as endemic level for a long period, maybe 2 years, 1 year, 1 to 2 years, something like this. So all the working population, whether irrespective of educational background and others, they need to learn how to avoid infection. So it is our greatest challenge to make them aware and to make them do the safer practice. That is the greatest challenge. That we are trying how best it can be done. We are experimenting on it, and I hope we will come out with a best possible solution.
Yeah, thank you. That's I think a very important point that you made, that you are still working on it, but then the whole country would be awaiting for such kind of protocols, so that the workplaces can at least provide certain amount of safety to the workers, and then be also safe so that the others don't get infected. I mean, it's not only for personal safety in pandemic that unfortunately sometimes you may be the cause of disease for some others. So that's also very important to prevent. So this is where we'll take a very short break, sir. I mean, it's a very interesting conversation that we are going on, very relevant conversation that we are going on. We'll take a very short break. After the break, we'll continue. Keep watching Eureka.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Welcome back to Eureka. We are having a very powerful, very interesting, very insightful conversation with Dr. Kamalesh Sarkar. He is the director of National Institute of Occupational Health, a constant unit of ICMR. Sir, before the break, we were talking about how the COVID has, in a way, become occupational health, and then how you are trying to work out certain protocol. Basically, also by actually going to certain workplaces and finding solution from that, you are trying to evolve some protocols for the country. Let me shift to other areas of your work, because once the COVID started, your institution has also geared up to fight this pandemic in various ways. One that I hear is that you are a depot for holding samples, and also you are building up a biobank. So can you elaborate on what this is? I mean, what is this program?
Yeah. One is we are a depot holder for the state of Gujarat and Daman Diu.
Okay.
Depot holder means within the Gujarat state, there are several laboratories, some are government laboratories, some are private laboratories. Actually, ICMR, that is our mother institution in Delhi, ICMR has decided for every region there will be one depot holder, and they will take the main responsibility for distributing of entire kits, whether it is a RNA extraction kit or the RT-PCR testing kit, or other logistic. It should be supplied through the one nodal center. So we are in that way, we are the depot holder in Gujarat, and we are distributing all the kits to the several government as well as private institutes as per instruction of ICMR. This is depot holder. Second thing, biobank. Biobank means it is also known as the repository. Repository bank, as you know, here we are storing several strains, circulating strains of the virus, because you know there are different types of viruses circulating different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Whether the single virus is circulating in the entire Gujarat or 4 or 5 different types of viruses are circulating, and how many what percentage of population are affected by a particular strain. These are the very much important to know, because whether if we develop a vaccine involving the particular strain, it may not be effective to the entire population. So we need to know what are the different types of vaccine. That is basically the idea of doing biobanking. That we are planning to do, and we will do this soon.
So in the biobank, what you will be doing is that you will be collecting samples from various patients,
various biological samples from patients and from environment also. Because I'm telling you one interesting thing, this COVID virus, our popular belief is it is from the infected material, maybe saliva or the respiratory secretions, but it is available in stool also. Because in the so you may find it in the what is called the sewage system also, that you may find. So we'll collect samples from environment as well as from the human specimen also. Yeah.
So in various parts of the country today, I mean, to find out and actually assess the level of infection, because not everybody develops symptom and not everybody is tested. So many people are asymptomatic, or maybe they had only mild, so they don't even know. They might have thought that it's just a cold, right? So to assess actually the level of infection, ICMR has started Sero-survey. Many places it's being carried out. Your institute is also carrying out such a Sero-survey in certain parts of Gujarat, right? I mean, so can you explain what is your project?
Yeah. Sero-survey, actually, basically, we want to know, suppose there are 100 people in a particular area. Out of 100 people at different point of time, how many of them have got infection indicated by antibody level? When the virus enters into the body, it is considered as antigen, is a foreign protein. Against it, the body develops certain kind of protein which is known as antibody. When sufficient amount of antibody develops, the infection is stopped. So we want to know out of 100 persons, how many of them have got antibody. We already did it some 2 months back in 3 districts of the Gujarat. Again, we want to do. So it is assumed that when the antibody level will reach to 60-70% of the population, the epidemic will come down, because rest of the population, 30%, will be automatically immune through that pool. So that we are trying to assess again this Sero-survey.
Okay. So you said that you had one round of Sero-survey, and then now you are starting the second. So what are the main, let's say, 2-3 interesting facts that you found from the first survey?
Yeah. Actually, first round of Sero-survey, we did it in 3 districts. That is basically rural districts. And we found very less, even 1.7% was the positivity rate. So it was very few. It indicates that the infection has not reached to them, almost negligible. But after a gap of 2 months, if we see that their serostatus is 10% or 15%, that means 15% of them they got infected. So we are expecting little increase than the previous one.
Okay. So your initial survey was essentially in rural parts of Gujarat.
We are doing both rural and urban. The urban also we have done in Surat and Ahmedabad. We have done. You know, the Gujarat one was the highest prevalent next to Maharashtra.
Yeah.
So, and mostly it is urban centric. So Surat and Ahmedabad, we also had a quite large percentage we expected, but exact amount we will come to know after doing Sero-survey. This time also we are doing Surat and urban also.
Okay. So in a sense, some of these results are awaited because you are compiling at this point of time. So once it comes, I mean, we will have a better understanding of how actually India suffered under this pandemic, where we are right now, and then that will help us in charting the future course. Another area that I'm told that you have worked is disinfectant tunnel, basically so that you can disinfect objects from. So what exactly is this technology? What is it useful for? Can a person, for example, just walk inside and then prevent himself or herself from COVID? What will this disinfectant do?
Yeah, I am just a little bit rectifying you. It is, we are not developing any disinfection tunnel because it is not recommended. In tunnel, what happens, the disinfectant sprayed is a sodium hypochlorite or hydrogen peroxide kind of thing, which is a little bit irritant to the skin and little bit harmful to the skin and eyes. So it is not recommended. What we are preparing, that is basically disinfection chamber, particularly mobile disinfection chamber. If you see the personal protective kits and other personal belongings used by healthcare professionals as well as the patients, if you disinfect it, it can be reused. So even some face masks before disposal, you should disinfect it. Otherwise, if you do not disinfect and throw it here and there, then the animal may spread this disease to human population through them. So before reuse and before final disposal, the PPE kit and other belongings of healthcare workers and others, this needs to be disinfected. So we have made a chamber, which is a mobile. It will be fitted into a van, then mobile disinfection chamber. Within the chamber, there will be some hydraulic pump system. It will spray disinfectant and then it will dry out also. After that, it will wash it also with clean water, spraying clean water, and after that, it will spray hot air to dry it out, and the dried condition it will come out. So this disinfection chamber that we are now testing whether after disinfection the virus particle remnant present or not, or it is totally killing, that we are testing. But the main chamber, the engineering part is made by that CSIR Institute, Central Salt and Marine Chemical Research Institute in Bhavnagar. They have sent it here. Now we are going to test it here. Once it is tested, it's a collaborative work. And for the rural healthcare delivery services, it will be very much useful because since it is mobile, from one primary health center to other primary health center, it can move and it can disinfect their used items.
Okay. That's interesting. And similarly, I think with the same institute, you're also developing a biodegradable mask, right? So that the mask, the discarded mask itself doesn't become a new pollutant like plastic bags.
Yeah. This is also a collaborative work with that Salt and Marine Chemical Research Institute. Actually, they developed the mask. We are testing it, its usability, comfortability, and the disinfection part of it. These mask is basically biodegradable, and we have tested it whether it can filter out virus or not. We have found it can filter out virus. It was tested in our laboratory, and now and the cost is, it is very cost effective because at that time when we started this experiment, the N95 mask was more than 100 rupees, some 300 rupees, something like this. Here it will cost about 30-40 rupees per unit piece. Hence, we are very much interested, and we have developed it, and we are waiting for its commercialization along with them.
Yeah, very interesting. But let me ask you one question. See, when you say it's a biodegradable, what kind of material is it? I mean, is it a plastic or it's a what? What is that biodegradable material?
It is not plastic, but exact chemical I cannot say. The Bhavnagar people, they can tell, but they have told me it is a biodegradable. It may not be 100% biodegradable, but mostly 70-80% is biodegradable. That they have told me.
Okay, okay. So
it is
you
not plastic. It is not plastic, but it is a material which is a biodegradable material, that they told me.
So basically, your institute was in the arm to test this biodegradable mask, whether it will provide enough protection to the public if they use it. Can it filter out virus? And that was your role, right? I mean, like.
Yes, yes, that we can test. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we are coming to the end of our conversation, but before we wind up, I want to ask you one question. That as an institute for occupational health, what would be your suggestion to business, industry, commercial companies, and various units when they are unlocking and opening up? What are the things that they should keep in their mind so that the workers are safe, the company is not causing a problem, the country is safe? So, what will be your advice to the firms? I mean, industry.
First of all, everybody, whether it is a grassroots level worker or the mid-level worker, top-level worker, they should know what is the disease, how does it spread, how it does not spread. So knowledge is the most powerful tool to save yourself. So this is mandatory. Second thing, the basic necessities such as the good air. Good air means the disinfected air, particularly in a closed room. So air should be taken out periodically. Before taking out, it should be disinfected. The other things are the personal belongings, because many times we have observed that the infection spread through personal belongings such as mobile phone. So there should be some what is called small chamber containing ultraviolet light kind of thing, in which if you put these personal belongings like mobile phones and others in that chamber, where the ultraviolet light will remain, and within 1 minute it can disinfect. So those kind of things should be there. Then there should be something like wire soaked in disinfectant solution, so that while entering, the infection virus cannot transmit through the under surface of the shoes.
Okay.
So there are the certain dimensions or certain things where transmission, infection can spread or infection can enter into the chamber, that we need to remember. And then the standard precaution, if you take, infection will. And another thing, lastly, I want to highlight, whatever the local prevalence is very much important. If the city contains high amount of virus and high amount of infection, and the industry is situated within the city, you cannot stop it. Yeah. So parallelly, it has to be controlled by the local authority.
Very nice, sir. I mean, it's a very, very important thoughts that you have shared, particularly when the unlock is happening, how we manage ourselves. And also the country would be awaiting some of the protocols that you will be able to develop, so that people can actually refer to it and then put up systems in their work unit, so that the workers are safe, the management is safe, the society is safe. Thank you for being with us on the show. It's a very, very wonderful opportunity. Keep watching Eureka. We'll come back with another interesting conversation next week, same time.